Hi, my name's Suzanne Natbony, and I'm a licensed California attorney. I practice business law, and I'm here with Heather Glick-atalla.
Hi, I'm Heather Glick-atalla, and I'm a certified specialist in estate planning, trust, and probate law, and I also form and represent charities. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you for being here. We have a lot of questions about people who are interested in doing nonprofits and forming them, and so I know you do the formation process. Can you talk a little bit about how that works for people?
Definitely. So I get a lot of people coming to me saying, I want to form my own charity. Should I do this and how do I do it? The first thing to understand about nonprofits is that it is a business. The only difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is that at the end of the year, instead of all the excess revenue going into the shareholders' pockets, it just goes back into the nonprofit. Other than that, it is almost identical to running a business, and it is a full-time job. If you want to be successful and raise a lot of money and really make an impact, you have to be ready to commit to that time and effort and educate yourself about how to run a nonprofit and be very entrepreneurial about it. If you're good at running a business, you'll be good at running a nonprofit. So in terms of the formation, I help charities, not just charities, but also different types of nonprofit organizations, get their tax-exempt status with both the IRS and the California Franchise Tax Board, and in other states as well. Even though I'm licensed only in California, I form charities that operate all over the United States and also overseas as well. And the reason being is that the majority of the work is done with the application that's filed with the IRS, which is the same no matter where you're filing because it's a federal form. And the state filings, for the most part, mirror the federal ones. So I've done different nonprofit organizations in other states other than California as well. Now, there's two different versions of the application for tax-exempt status that's filed with the IRS if you're a charity, meaning a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You could be religious, educational, or charitable 501c3. And the first form is called Form 1023. And by the time I'm done with it, it is literally the size of a phone book. Okay, it includes all of the information about what the charity is going to be doing, who's going to be doing it. Basically, the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the nonprofit goes into this application that's submitted to the IRS. The second version is called Form 1023EZ, and it is a two-page electronic, check a box and you're done, very simple filing that for the most part people can do themselves. And I do both applications. So I do recommend that you have an attorney assist you even if you do qualify to file the 1023EZ form, in which case you're still going to need someone to form the entity for you. And what does that involve? It involves filing articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State in whatever state you're located, getting a tax ID number, drafting up bylaws, a conflicts of interest policy, and there's several other state-level filings that need to be done as well. For example, here in California, there's an additional registration that needs to be done with the California Attorney General's office. That has to be done within 30 days of the organization's first receipt of assets of any kind. So if you open up a bank account and you put $100 in it, that triggers the 30-day filing window, and you better file with the Attorney General's office, or else there could be consequences such as, late filing penalties, or even they won't even accept the filing when you do file it, although that hasn't happened in my experience. Usually as long as you file it when they tell you to file it, you're okay. So as I said, there's two different versions of the application. Now, how do you know if you qualify for the easy version of the filing? Well, there's a checklist, and if you Google search the instructions to Form 1023EZ, you will see a checklist of around 20 or so questions at the very end of that instruction sheet. Now, the very first question on that instruction sheet is usually the one that makes it or breaks it for most charities. And that question is, do you anticipate that your gross revenue will exceed $50,000 in any of the next 3 years? So let's say that you do your projections and you look into your crystal ball and you say, I'm going to be making $100,000 for each of the next 3 years for a total of $300,000. Well, in that case, you automatically just know you shouldn't be filing the easy version of the form. You should go the full version of the application. On the other hand, let's say that you think that you're just going to be doing a few small fundraisers here and there, and you don't think you're going to be making more than $50,000 in gross receipts. Again, that's top line revenue, not taking into account any expenses. If you think you're going to be under that $50,000 mark, then you may qualify to file the easy version of the form, provided that the answers to the rest of the questions on that eligibility worksheet are also no. So you do have to go through the whole thing. And that's where I really roll up my sleeves, and there's a lot of art that goes into drafting these applications to the IRS, and that's done on, again, the full version of the Form 1023.
Got it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So then after these entrepreneurs start their nonprofits and they need business contracts, let's say they're hiring employees or independent contractors, that's the type of work that I do. So I would assess what's the scope of the responsibilities, how long is the term that they want these people to work, and then I can talk to the client about maybe they need an offer letter or an employment agreement, or even though it's harder now in California, now that we have the Dynamex case, but to maybe make them an independent contractor if they qualify. So I help with those type of questions and other regulatory compliance questions like, can they do this? Do they need something on their website regarding terms of use? There's a whole set of new California rules regarding different terms on websites that I help my clients with. And then also handling minor disputes. Maybe somebody pledged that they were going to pay something, or maybe they actually donated something to the nonprofit and it wasn't what they said it was. So sometimes attorneys can help with facilitating that communication with the other parties, so that way the nonprofit isn't the one that's having a loss from something like that occurring. Otherwise, is there anything else you help with nonprofits or other tips?
Yeah, so I don't do anything contract related or business related, but if it's nonprofit law related, I will. So for example, I'll step in and do a governance policy review out for an existing nonprofit that's been running for a few years, and they come to me and they say, what policies should we have? So I'll do a review. I'll see what they have in place, and if those documents need to be revised in order to comply with the nonprofit law, then I'll take a look at them and make sure that they're in compliance. But oftentimes I'm going to be filling in gaps where they don't even have any policies at all that they should be having. So for example, on Form 990, you check a box, that's your annual tax filing if you're a nonprofit. Information filing, it's actually not a tax return because nonprofits for the most part don't pay taxes. So on your 990 information return, there's a box that you check that says, do you have a whistleblower policy? Do you have a document retention policy? And of course, if your CPA is doing this for you, you're checking that box. Of course, yes, I do. Many times they don't. So there's a lot of policies that you're required to have by law, and I'll do those. And then there's also policies that you should have as good governance. And in the event of an audit by the Attorney General or an investigation, or the IRS wants to come in and do some kind of audit or investigation, the first thing that they're going to ask to see is the governance policies and procedures that the board has adopted. And if you can show, look, we've had these policies for years, and every year we give them to the board, and there's a board meeting where we go through them, and we do a conflicts of interest policy questionnaire every year. This is the type of stuff that these agencies want to see, that you're making a good faith effort in order to deal with these conflicts and to stay in compliance with nonprofit laws. So that's what I do. I help my clients basically stay out of trouble. So once they're tax exempt, hopefully they can stay tax exempt.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for answering that question about nonprofits and talking about your experience. And if anybody else has any more questions about charities or nonprofit status or filings, contracts, you can find out how to contact us at the bottom of the screen and reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.